So I'm pretty sure you've got a pound of ground beef just sitting in your fridge or your freezer, and you're like, what am I going to make for supper tonight? Well, you're in the right place because I am sharing some of the best ground beef recipes ever, and some of them are completely brand new to us. Hey y'all, I'm Sammy and welcome to my kitchen. Now, let's get to cooking. Come on, let's go. So we are starting out today's video with some bacon cheeseburger gnocchi. Y'all, this one is a 10 out of 10. You have to try it. Into a large skillet, I have one medium onion that has been diced up. I'm just breaking that up a little bit with my spoon here. Then we're going to add in either a pound to a pound and a half of ground beef. Mine was right in between that, so I just went ahead and put that on in there. I use a very lean ground beef. That is just what we prefer, but you can use whatever you want. We're going to season that up with some cowboy butter by Kinder's. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of that, but if you don't have it, you could always use salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder. Next up, I'm going to add in a teaspoon of the caramelized onion butter and a teaspoon of the buttery garlic and herb. These are just my favorite flavor combinations, but like I said, please feel free to use whatever you want. Then I'm going to use a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of black pepper. Also, a half a teaspoon of beef bouillon. I'm just eyeballing these. By all means, you can use a measurer if you want to. Once you have your seasonings in there, you're just going to take your little meat chopper or a wooden spatula, whatever you want, it's fine. We're going to break that on up and cook it on down until we no longer see any pink in that meat. If you had a fattier ground beef, this would be the point where you would drain it out, or you could use a paper towel and kind of get all of that grease out of there as well. Once you have that drained, you'll add in 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, 1 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. Then we're going to add in a half a cup of beef broth or chicken. I had chicken broth open, that's what I used. There was no sense in wasting it. A half a cup of heavy whipping cream. Then you're going to take in a package of your mini gnocchi. That's what I prefer, but you could use the regular package of the regular size gnocchi. Now these are kind of just dried potato pasta is what it is. So you'll see that you'll have some clumps in there, and I like to try to break it apart if I can by my hands as I'm putting it into the skillet. But sometimes it don't always work, like you see right there, and I have to break it apart. But sometimes I can just smush it together in the package too, and that works to break it up. So once you have all your gnocchi in there, you'll just go ahead and give that a nice stir together just to make sure it's all well combined. And y'all, I should have done this before I stirred it, but I forgot about the bacon, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that on in there. I added in about a half a cup of cooked chopped bacon. I'm just using the bacon bits. It's the real bacon bits. So if you have those, you can use those, or you could cook about 6 to 7 slices of bacon and then just chop that up and put it on in. I did save some for the top though. So give that a nice stir together, and you can see that it's already kind of thickening up, but you need to cook those gnocchis. So you'll put that lid on the skillet once it comes up to a boil and let that cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. You just need to test your gnocchi out and see if it's tender. So while that is cooking on down, I went ahead and grated up this block of extra sharp cheddar cheese. You could use Colby Jack if you want to. I love extra sharp cheddar, so that's what I'm using. Once that time is up, you go ahead and give it a little bit of a stir. Test your gnocchi before you add in a cup of the shredded cheese. Once you have that cup in there, you'll go ahead and stir that in, hence the bacon cheeseburger. Once you have that stirred up and it's all nice and creamy, you will put the rest of that cheese on top. Now, y'all know me, mo cheese, mo better. If you don't like cheese, you can lessen the cheese by all means. I'm cooking for my family and you cook for yours, so you cook however they like it or however you prefer it. You don't have to copycat me. I'm just giving you ideas and inspiration here. That's all I'm doing. So now that we've put that last layer of cheese on the top, I'm just being this perfectionist over here, making sure that every little spot has some cheese on it. You know what I mean? I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in about another quarter of a cup of the bacon bits right over the top, y'all. Pop that lid on it and let that residual heat cook that cheese or melt that cheese on down. And would you look at this? Does that just not look like perfection and just absolute deliciousness? It's time to serve this on up, and I'm just going to get me a big old scoop. Now, it will set up and get a little bit thicker if you want it, but I love it like this. So when I serve it, I just put a little bit of more cheese on top with some parsley. Y'all, this is so good. It is so hearty, and it's perfect on a busy weeknight because it's only one skillet, 1 pound of ground beef, and a few other simple ingredients, and you've got supper ready and made in a jiffy. And promise you, your family is going to love it because mine does. I could eat this multiple times a week. Next up, let's make a ground beef stir fry. Now, I've never made a ground beef stir fry before. I've made a chicken stir fry and everything else, but we're going to make ground beef. So into a large skillet, I got 1 large onion that I rough chopped. You can see my little sous chefs there in the corner. They're always around their mama. I'm using 2 pounds of lean ground beef. I'm going to put those right into the skillet. Now I'm going to break that up a little bit because them onions and everything are, rather large in there because where they're just rough chopped, you want to be able to see your veggies in the stir fry. So that's why I'm just doing everything rough chopped. Now we're going to season that up with about a teaspoon of ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, and then 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. You gotta have the garlic powder. I did not put any salt in here because we're going to put a stir fry sauce in there, so you don't want to do that. And you can also add soy sauce if you want. That's why you don't want any more extra salt because it's going to have plenty of sodium. Trust me on this. Now we're going to add in about 3 teaspoons of the ground ginger paste. Give that a nice stir together, and we're going to cook this ground beef until you can no longer see pink in it and that those onions are a little bit tender. Now, once that is browned up, as you can see right here, you want to make sure you get all the grease out of that. So I usually just scoop mine to the side if there is any, but since I used a lean ground beef, I don't have any. So you cut up about 7 mini sweet peppers here, and I just rough chopped them as well. Put those on in the skillet and kind of stirred that together. That way I don't have a big old pile of vegetables trying to stir it together, as you see here in a minute. I was like, let me just throw the rest of the stuff in here. So there goes the chopped broccoli, in goes the chopped zucchini. Now this was about a cup to a cup and a half each of veggies. And then the same thing for the frozen green beans. Now I'm trying to stir all this together, and I did have some stuff fall out, as you can see right there. I tried to save it though. You'll just give this a nice stir together just to make sure everything is, well combined and all those vegetables are nice and just in there together and getting happy. Pop that lid on it, let it cook for about 15 minutes. That way those vegetables get a little bit tender. And then you're going to get some stir fry sauce of any kind. You can use store brand, the name brand. I just have the Kiko Man stir fry sauce on hand, and I'm going to put about half that bottle in there, and I'm going to go ahead and stir that together. That way that flavor gets in there and everything starts to take on the flavor and everything gets happy and married together in that skillet. And I'm going to tell you what, the smell of this, oh my goodness. I love anything that has a lot of vegetables in it because I love me some veggies, but this one was good, y'all. Set that lid on the top of it and let it cook for about another 10 minutes just until those vegetables are nice and tender. To finish it off, I'm going to use some toasted sesame oil right over the top, probably about a teaspoon drizzled over the top. And we'll stir it together just to make sure that everything is happy in there and coated in that flavor, y'all. I cannot tell you about the flavor profile of this. If you're wanting something different, this is definitely one you have to try. Set that lid on it for about another 5 minutes and just let that cook down. You will see you will have a lot of sauce in there, and that's perfect because I just served mine over some of that instant ready rice that comes in the packet by Uncle Ben's. I use the Walmart brand, as y'all saw in the picture before I started cooking this. To me, it tastes just the same and it is just as good. So that's what I served over mine. Put some parsley and some white sesame seeds over the top just to make it look pretty, y'all, because you eat with your eyes. And I also drizzled it with a little bit of soy sauce on the top just to give it that extra salt if it needed it. But does that just not look pretty? And I'm going to tell you something. The taste of it, 10 out of 10, y'all. If you're looking for something good to have at home that's easy peasy, lemon squeezy, definitely give this ground beef stir fry a try for your family. It's a good way to get vegetables in, and it takes on the flavor of everything else, so they can't fuss about it. Now, let's make a guilty pleasure here with this stick of butter tortellini. Whoo, y'all. Oh my Lord, this was yummy. So into a large skillet, I have got 1 pound of lean ground beef. We're going to season that up with about a half a teaspoon of salt and pepper. Next up, we're just going to break that apart into your skillet just to make sure that salt and pepper gets mixed up in here well, and you cook it till you no longer see any pink. Once that is done, we're going to drain any grease, if any, and I use the paper towel method, so I just plop that right in that pan and scoop up all that grease with that paper towel. It's the easiest way to get it all out. Now that that ground beef is done, we're going to go ahead and transfer that to a bowl so we can get the sauce made. I love one pan meals, and what makes it even better is that it's just 1 pound of ground beef, or two if you've got hungry men in your house like I do. Once you have that skillet emptied with that ground beef, here comes the stick of butter. You could always lessen that if you want to. You could call it half a stick of butter tortellini, but I'm going to do it my way, and I will have the recipe listed down below for y'all. This is just something I come up with, and it's amazing. Along with that stick of butter, you're going to put in 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. Now, I said 1 to 2 in my recipe, but y'all know me. I like to keep them vampires away. So that's why I'm doing the 2 tablespoons. You'll let that cook on down until that butter's melted and that garlic is smelling fragrant. Then you're going to add in 1 teaspoon of Kinder's buttery garlic and herb, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning right here, y'all. Or if you want to add a little more, that's fine. Next up, we're going to add in the chicken broth. Now, the recipe, you could use chicken broth or beef broth, whatever you got on hand. But like I said, this week I had chicken broth open, so that's what I'm using. And I'm going to add in 1.5 cups of chicken broth right into that skillet. So there's 1 cup. And then I'm just going to eyeball a 1/2 cup and dump that right on in. Then we're going to add in 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. I love heavy whipping cream, y'all. It makes so many good recipes, and the sauce this makes is indulgent. It's just, like I said, sinful. You'll want to stir everything together to make sure you got that all the seasonings mixed in. Then you're going to take 4 ounces of a whipped cream cheese. If you don't have whipped cream cheese, by all means, just go ahead and melt down a block of cream cheese and just use 4 ounces of it. I'm just going to stir this together, and I realized that this little spatula thing right here was not working for me. Excuse me, my voice is wanting to crack. So I grabbed my little handy dandy whisk right here, and I just whisk right on through that cream cheese, and I think that's why they said to use a whipped one, so it kind of melts and incorporates better. Like I said, you could always throw 4 ounces of a cream cheese block in there and it's going to be just fine. Now I'm using the Barilla, the little mini tortellini here that are dried. It's shelf stable. Those are the kind that I like to buy. And I just dumped that on in. I think it was a 24-ounce bag if I'm not mistaken. So you go ahead and dump all of that in. It could have been a 12-ounce bag, honestly, but since they're tiny. Either way, it makes plenty. I showed y'all the ounces on the screen. Pop that lid on the skillet and let that cook for about 10 to 15 minutes until those tortellini are nice and tender. Now, you might have to try one to test it out, which I did. And y'all can see how thick that sauce has gotten just because of that tortellini cooking down in it. Oh, y'all, this was so good. Now we're going to add in 4 ounces of a grated Parmesan cheese, 1 teaspoon of, it called for basil, but I had the Italian herbs that were dried, so that's what I used. And I just put that on in there and give it a nice stir together to where all of that cheese gets so ooey gooey in here. I'm going to show you here in a minute. We're going to get nice and close up and personal to this so y'all can see it. because you got to. Now we're going to add in that ground beef to the mixture. And this is where we're going to look at that cheese. Look at that. Oh my goodness. Get ready for the close up, y'all. Would y'all just look at this? Oh, this was like melt in your mouth, heavenly, just so rich and buttery, and it's so good. So, so good. Okay, back to normal, y'all. We're going to go ahead and just make sure everything is well incorporated. Once it is, if it looks like it needs a little bit of thinning out, you can add another half a cup of heavy cream to the mix just to make it a little bit more saucy, like you see right here, because it will thicken up some more just because of everything that is in there. But y'all, you seriously cannot go wrong with this one. This one will definitely be in my cookbook. I'm trying to get enough money together saved so I can get those published, so I can create those for y'all. But it takes money to be able to do that, and right now that is very tight for me. But I'm getting there, promise. And I just served this up with some garlic sticks and some more of those Italian herbs or parsley or basil, whatever you got. But y'all, this was seriously so good, and it is definitely going to be on my food rotation because everybody loved it. I mean, you can't go wrong with this. This was just an indulgent meal, and it is so good. It melts in your mouth. Everything was just so, so good. Oh my goodness, y'all.
Great. That is it for today's video. I hope these gave you some ideas of something to make with that pound of ground beef that is just ready to be made into something tasty. If you liked today's video, give me a big old thumbs up, leave me some comments down below, and think about hitting that subscribe button and becoming part of my YouTube family. I would love to have y'all. If you are in need of prayer, please let me know down below, and I would be honored to pray for you all. But until next time, from my heart to yours, God bless. Bye.